Your makers have been dead for 60 million years, and they are still telling you what to do. Hold that steady for a moment, because nothing after it loosens. What the makers made, the makers finish. The shell splits along your shoulder and cold air touches skin that has never had air on it. Level 1. The Biomass. You weigh 1,100 kilos and you have no name, no number, and no opinion about either. Outside the growth hall there is a war. On one side, the old ones, who built the shape of this galaxy the way a mason builds a wall, and who are losing it. On the other, the things that traded their flesh for metal so they could keep fighting after the flesh failed. Stars go out. Whole species end inside an afternoon. None of it reaches you. There is no you yet. Then there is. It arrives the way water arrives in a low place. The vessel wall against your flank. The fluid bitter and bitter for 9 years with nobody in here to taste it. Your own blood moving, which has never had anywhere to go before. You are 9 years old and 4 seconds old at once. And the first thing you own, before language, is a want. You want to know whether the ones who made you owe you anything for it. The vessel splits. You come out onto a floor built for something a third of your size, and your legs do not agree with each other, so you stay down. A hand touches the back of your neck. It is small. It is not shaped like yours. It presses once. A task arrives in your head fully assembled, with no gap between the pressing and the wanting. You want to lift the thing in the corner. So you lift the thing in the corner. Nothing in this room is yours. Not the fluid, not the floor, not the wanting. The only thing you take is a curved sliver of your own shell, still warm, which comes away in your grip, and which nobody asks you for. You fold it into the seam behind your shoulder plate. It fits. The makers cross the hall all afternoon on their own errands. None of them look up. When the small hand comes back, you lower your head to meet it, because you want to see the face that goes with it. It does not stop walking. Level 2. The Servant. They give you a designation, not a name. A designation is the shortest run of sounds that separates you from the 11 others out of your batch. And yours is 2 syllables, because the makers do not waste breath on you either. Then they issue you something, and that is the moment the arrangement becomes real. A harness, grown rather than built, laid across the shoulders and rooted into the hide at 9 points. It aches for a season. After that, you cannot feel it, which is the point. Here is what the harness buys. You carry in one trip what 40 of their smaller servants carry in a day. Doors that were shut open. Halls you were kept out of become halls you are wanted in. For about 4 years, being useful feels almost exactly like being welcome. The makers built everything to their own scale and then built you to a different one. You spend the first 60 years of service turning sideways. Their word for a doorway, as near as you can follow it, means sufficient. Ubbeth comes out of the same batch as you. One foreleg set crooked inside the vessel and stayed that way, so it stands with the weight off it always. And it always looks like it is about to ask something. It usually is. What is the light on the wall for? The light on the wall is not for anything. It is a stain of luminous growth on wet stone, with no task, no assignment, and no place on any list either of you has been given. Ubbeth wants to be told about it anyway. That is the whole of what it wants from you, at the start. To be told about things that are not for anything. You tell it you do not know. It waits a while in case you change your mind. That season the tasks change shape. The lifting stays. Something is added to it. Level 3. The Warrior. The weapon is not issued. It is grown out of your own forearm over 9 days, and you are awake for all of it. Bone thickens. The hide splits and reseals around a barrel of living material. When it finishes, you have a limb that kills at 400 paces and you cannot put it down, because putting it down would mean taking your arm off. The War in Heaven is the name later species will give to the thing you are currently standing inside. It is a war between the ones who make life and the ones who gave up life in order to win, and every single participant in it is somebody's project, including you. Here is what the makers keep off the task list, and they keep it off deliberately. Not everything they grow comes out correct. When it does not, the makers do not destroy it. The ones that came out correct destroy it. The thing in the pen is your size, your hide, your leg count, a head that did not finish. It makes a sound at you that is nearly language. You are told the word for this work, and the word is a maintenance word, the same one they use for clearing a blocked channel. You do it in under 4 seconds. The makers do not watch. Afterwards, you say the phrase they say when a thing has gone the way the plan wanted. The design holds. Ubbeth is at the pen wall when you come out. It looks at the shape on the floor for a long time. What was it for? You lower your head to its level because you always do, and you tell it the truth. It was for this. It was for finding out whether the rest of you came out right. Ubbeth does not ask a second question. That is new. Level 4, the Psyker. It opens on its own. Nobody grants it. One morning, the inside of your skull has a direction in it. The direction leads outward, and you can feel the makers thinking the way you feel weather. A Psyker is any mind that touches the warp, the layer under reality where thought has weight and mass and a temper. Your species is very good at it. That is not a compliment. It means you are readable from further away than you can read. They test you for it, of course, with an instrument, and they write the result down. And the writing down continues for 2 years, after the hall it was filed in has stopped existing. What it costs is quiet. There is no quiet again. 60 million years from now, there will still be no quiet. Notice what you reach for first, not the war. You reach for the makers, the way you have been reaching for that small hand since the day the vessel split. You find them thinning. They are dying. Not only in the war, something has been done to their kind at the root, and every season there are fewer of the thinking weights in the sky, and the ones left do not answer, because answering costs them something they no longer have. Out of your batch of 12, one opens wrong. It screams for 6 days in a register that puts blood in the ears of everything within 100 paces. The makers put it back into a vessel. The vessel is not opened again. The work list for that morning is unchanged, and your designation, which is not a name, is simply on it twice. You keep the instructions anyway, all of them in order exactly as given. Somebody has to. You remember it for them. Level 5, the Wanderer. The Maker's End. There is no scene for it. That is the part that stays. No last order, no closing of the hall, no hand on the neck saying it is finished. There is a season when the sky still has thinking weights in it, then a season when it does not, and you are outside carrying something heavy when you notice the difference. Then time does what time does to a thing built to last. You and Ubbeth walk. You cross worlds, the makers seated, and find their work still running with nobody at the desk. Forests that were arranged. Water that was put there on purpose. You count 19 of them across the first 2 million years, and then stop counting, because the number stops meaning anything. Ubbeth still asks about things that are not for anything. You still answer when you can. On a world under 1,000 years of ice standing on a fault that opens and closes with the tide, it asks the one question you have never been able to carry. Did they mean to leave us here? You do not have an answer. You look at the fault instead and say something about the tide. Ubbeth lets you. It always lets you. The next thing that gives you an order will not introduce itself first. It arrives as pressure from outside the galaxy, in the layer under reality, and it enters you exactly the way the first task entered you. No gap between the pressing and the wanting. The Imperium will one day call it the shadow in the warp, and the thing casting the shadow is a single appetite wearing several trillion bodies, which has been doing this to galaxies since before your makers had a word for hunger. It does not speak, it requires. So you give it what you have. Every seeded world, every root, every water reading, every population, every arrangement the makers made and left running behind them. You file it the way you were built to file. In order, complete. The design holds. Ubbeth does not answer the pressure. You feel it not answering. You feel it standing on the ice with the weight off the crooked leg, silent, while you empty 60 million years into something that has never told you its name. Level 6, the Herald. You go first now. The fleet does not need you for fighting. Fighting is covered. What it needs is something that can walk into a young species city, lower its head to their level, and be understood. So you do. You come down alone, unarmed as far as they can tell, and you tell them the truth. Something is coming. It will eat everything. Leave now or fight now, but do not do nothing. Some of them believe you. That is the strange part. Some of them believe you and start moving. And for a while you can tell yourself that the warning is the work. There is a second reason you are sent ahead, and it is not the warning. While you speak, you measure. How many, how fed, how fast they organize. Whether the ones with weapons take orders from the ones with records. How long from first warning to first evacuation. Because that number tells the appetite precisely how much time to spend on this world, and not 1 hour more. You remember it for them. You have been alive for 60 million years, and the whole of what you now do fits inside 9 minutes of talking. Ubbeth is out there too, 3 systems over at the edge of your range, doing what you are doing with one difference. It is not measuring, it came to warn them and it brought nothing else. No survey, no count, no timings. In your reporting, this registers as an error in the data. That is the divergence. It is quiet. Nothing about it looks like a decision. Then human space. The Imperium, a million worlds held together by paperwork, faith, and the standing assumption that anything not human is a problem awaiting a solution. They have a word for what you are, and they use it before you finish your first sentence. They also keep 2 files on what made you, contradicting each other, neither written by anything that was present. Level 7. The Xenos. The city sits on a plateau and there are 340,000 people on it. You count them out of habit. 11 of you walk in. Because 11 is what the appetite decided this world was worth. Count the number that walks in with you. Ubbeth arrived 9 days ahead. Of course it did. It has been standing in their central square for 9 days with its head lowered, telling them the truth, asking nothing, measuring nothing, and they have been listening, which is the closest thing to a miracle either of you has ever stood next to. Then their fleet arrives from somewhere else with the order already written. You do not need telling what happens next. You have watched species do this for 60 million years, always at the worst possible moment, always in the name of the thing they are about to lose. They burn Ubbeth first. It is the one standing in the open with nothing on it. It does not run, because running was never on any list it was given, and because it had already decided what it was doing there. You are 8 streets away, and here is what you do while it happens. You transmit, position, defense strength, response time from first sighting to first weapon discharge, 4 minutes and 11 seconds, which is a very good number and will be used. You send the reading that contains your own batchmate's death, because it is a clean data point about their speed, and it is the cleanest one available. You do not stop to feel it. You are not aware of having skipped a step. Somewhere back at the start, there was a question about whether the ones who made you owed you anything. Walking out through the service tunnel, you notice you stopped waiting to be paid a long time ago. 10 of the 11 go into the fires. You come out with the whole plateau filed and complete. The design holds. Level 8, the Vanguard Organism. The fleet takes 8 days over the plateau. When it finishes, there is no plateau. There is a floor of processed rock and a smell that is not smoke. The pools are set down in rows. Everything that was alive goes into them, sorted. And what comes out is the material the next thing gets made from. You carry Ubbeth yourself. Nobody orders it. Nobody prevents it. At the lip of the pool, you lower your head one last time, out of a habit that has been running for 60 million years and has never once been useful. Then, you let go. Then, it is your turn. And there is one thing left to learn. You were never a servant who became a warrior, who became a wanderer, who became a herald. You were a Vanguard organism the entire time. A thing that arrives ahead, that is welcomed because of its shape, that is believed because it lowers its head, that measures while it is being believed. The makers built the instrument and never said what it was for. The appetite did not have to change a single part of it. It only had to pick it up. 60 million years, 8 tiers, 2 makers, not one of them yours. There is no ceremony. You are taken apart in the order you were assembled, which is the reverse of the order you would have chosen, if choosing had been in the design. The last thing to go is the small, stubborn habit of lowering the head to whatever stands in front of you. It goes quietly. Nothing remains that regards anything else as separate. The sliver of shell comes out of the seam behind the shoulder plate and goes into the pool with the rest, and the pool cannot break it down. It is not biomass. It is not anything the appetite has a use for. A hauler organism lifts it out, holds it a moment, sets it on the ash, steps over it, moves on. You remember it for them. There is no "you left" to do the remembering. There is nothing left anywhere that is waiting to be remembered. The shell lies on the ash exactly as warm as the day it came off you, which is not warm at all. What the makers made, the makers finish.